Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Trustcast Show. And we're really happy to have with us Matthew Hines. Can I call you Matt?
Of course.
Well, welcome to the show, Matt.
Man, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so today's guest founded his own law firm the same day he passed the bar in 2004. And originally, when we started, I said, and people thought he was crazy, and and he says, "Go ahead and say that." And 20 years later, Hines Law has now services clients across Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas, has recovered millions for accident victims who had no idea what they were up against. Matthew, today, the day you passed the bar exam, you didn't go to celebrate, you filed paperwork to open your law firm. What was going through your mind on that day?
Well, no, I knew what I wanted. I had pretty big plans about where I wanted to go with all this. That was one reason I liked law school, is because it allowed me to set up my own trade. Because I didn't have any particular specialty that I was brilliant in. I wasn't going to start the new uh, arcade game. I wasn't going to invent a new type of vehicle. Like I wasn't real skilled, but I knew I wanted something of my own. And law allowed me to do something like that in a very interesting area. So I was ready to do it. I was single. I didn't have children. I could just kind of go out there and crash, and it wouldn't destroy other people's lives. So that's what I did. I had the LLC formed with the hopes that I would pass the bar. I did pass the bar, so yeah, it was ready to go.
So you were working for other attorneys in law school. What was it about the people coming through those offices that made you feel like I can do this myself?
I didn't really acquire that sort of viewpoint from them. I knew that. I
Okay.
went there just to sort of get knowledge on how can I use that knowledge to start the firm. I was going to start the firm, win, lose, or draw. And when I'd work with them, you could see what they were doing, how they were set up, how they had files, how they saved documents, what was important, what wasn't. And I was just trying to collecting stuff in the back of my mind that I would use later. When I left, this was kind of my protege. He was a brilliant attorney. And I remember, like, at that time, we had these big zip drives. It was a massive, like, disc. And I remember plugging it into
Hmm.
his C drive on his computer and just downloading everything, all his employment forms, all his legal forms, all his everything. And that stuff saved my life later on. I just grabbed everything in his on his server. Like, not like that sounds criminal. It was not confidential data, but I was looking to just whatever I could possibly use in the future.
So someone just got rear-ended this morning on I-285, and they're sitting in their car right now. What is the single most important thing they should do in the next hour?
They need to go get treatment is the most important thing. The reason, if we're going to analyze like an accident case, the reason accident cases fail or are argued by an insurance company is because somebody didn't get treatment fast enough. That's the biggest weakness. And so they need to get treatment, preferably with an MD or like an ortho, and then they need to get a proper treatment plan, like set up to where they get treated, they get evaluated, then go to the chiropractor or physical therapist to get their MRI to make sure everything's good. And now you could say it's a developed case that can be presented to an insurance company. They always need to call our law firm. But as far as we can guide them through that because we have doctors that we know and trust. But that's how a great case evolves is a good proper treatment plan.
But the other insurance company just called and said, "Hey, we got you covered. We'll take care of all your, what happened? Are you okay? We're going to take care of you."
Yeah. Well, the answer to that would be no thanks. Let me call an attorney because insurance companies they have every time there's an accident there is so much money allocated for the case. So let's say there's an accident and the insurance company says this is a $10,000 case. So every time the adjuster can beat that, he sort of saves money for the company. So if
Hmm.
he can get it settled for three, he just saved the company seven, and he's a hero. And they're trying to do that. So when they move in quick and talk to somebody and say, "Let me just give you $2,000." Well, to some people that's very enticing, but it totally robs them of the ability to really get treatment and get some more money in their pocket.
So I feel fine right now, but my neck is a little stiff. Is that something I need to get checked out, or can I just wait?
Hmm. No, it is something you need to get checked out, and I would not wait. The problem is adrenaline and all lasts for a little while, and so some people, a lot of people don't even feel an issue for like 3 or 4 days. So they wait, and then they're like their next stiff. So well, I'm too busy. Like I got a job, I got children, I don't have time to go to the doctor. Um, and so a month later, there is a problem, but now it's more permanent. And when you wait a month, the insurance company looks at that and says, "You're not injured. If you were injured, you'd have treated faster." So it causes a lot of trouble. So treat fast and just get evaluated whether you feel that stiff neck or not.
So what does the insurance adjuster do the moment they hang up the phone after an accident, and why does that matter to me if I was in that accident?
The first thing they do, they call the person normally. You're going to get the call, and you don't talk to them. So this is a call from the other person's insurance company. If
Right.
your insurance company calls you, that's okay. You can talk freely. But when the other person's calling saying, "What happened? How do you feel?" And then you say, "I feel all right." Okay, well, that's now recorded. And when you say 3 months later, "I felt bad," they're going to say, "But you told me you felt all right." And now there's an issue. So if you'd have never said anything, everything's fine and clean. So after that, um, they'll likely just kind of put the case down and wait and let you get treatment and then pick it back up later. If it's a serious enough accident, they may go on your social media page, or they may, if it's a real serious accident, they could hire an investigator to follow you and follow you to the gym and to the beach and whatever you're doing just to see if you're actually injured. Um, but I don't think, the majority of the time, I don't think that happens.
Yeah, that was my next question. If I post my accident on Facebook, can that actually hurt me?
Yes, it can hurt you. I would never post anything on Facebook. And if you do, go ahead and set it up and just tell people how injured you are. "I can't move today. I can't sleep. The pain's excruciating." You could set up your case that way.
So walk me through exactly what happens when someone calls your firm the day after an accident or the day of an accident.
So we would instruct them we talk to them, get their statement, get what happened. We'd send them, it's usually done via DocuSign. Of course, people can come to our office and meet the team and all that if they'd like. Most people are moving pretty fast and they just want to get it done. So we'll talk to them, answer their questions, send them documents to sign, and then help them get set up with treatment that day or the next day. And they'll get treatment, and they explain to the doctor what's wrong, what happened, what hurts, and the doctor evaluates them. And the thing is, medical records are our ammunition. That is what we use to help our client. And so we want detailed, voluminous medical records because that's what we send, that's what we argue. If it goes to court and goes in front of a jury, that's what we show to the jury. Like, "Look, jury, here's what they presented on December 10th. Like, they couldn't walk, and she couldn't pick up her child, and she could barely get out of bed because of the pain in her neck." Like, we want that kind of stuff. That stuff's recorded in medical records, which is admissible evidence in court. So we want treatment, so we send them to a doctor, and then for continuing treatment, to like a chiropractor or a physical therapist, we do want MRIs to see if anything is wrong with the spine or the other systems. And depending on the injury, if they say, "I'm afraid of driving," we might want them to talk to a psychologist. If they say, "I've got I got this tingling in my leg that won't stop," we want them to see a neurologist. And so it kind of depends on what their complaints are and who they should see. So we'll continue. They get signed up. They start their treatment. That goes for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Then we collect medical records. During that time, we're also collecting witness statements, videos, police reports is the biggest thing, and putting that all together and assembling a case. And after that, we try to settle the case for them. And this is one thing people don't get. People say, "I don't want to go to court," or "I don't want to deal with judges and lawyers and all that kind of stuff." 97% of the time, they don't do that because the lawsuit only happens in the very end when the insurance company won't offer a reasonable settlement. So then we file suit. So you get an accident, you treat for 6 months, we settle your case. That's usually the end of it all for 97% of the clients. It's only the last 3% where we try to settle the case, but the insurance company is being unreasonable. Then we have to file a lawsuit, and the lawsuits and all that kind of stuff start.
So, how long does it take for a personal injury case in Georgia to actually take from the first call to the settlement? I know there's not any hard and fast, but what's a general rule of thumb on that?
5-6 months. 5 or 6 months would be an average. You treat for about 3 or 4, assembling the records. You send what's called a demand letter, which is where you're demanding from the insurance company that they pay so much for the accident. They have 30 days to reply. You go back and forth, and then should get a check a week or so later. So 6 months approximately.
And this is kind of an open question, but what's a realistic range for what someone can recover from an auto accident, and what factors swing that number up or down?
Well, that is a great one. That's what everybody asks.
What am I going to get?
How much money did I get? Yeah. Man, it's driven off of your medical records. Usually. I say usually because if it's a scratch and the person ran up $100,000 of medical bills, they're not going to get a $100,000 settlement. So it does have to be within reason. So if you have a fairly large accident and the car's got some damage, and you treat for, let's say, $10,000, $15,000 worth of treatment, the settlement would be, let's say, and you healed, you're done, there's no lingering effects from the accident. All right. So you were injured, you treated, you healed, you're at 100%, and you're back to normal. So you were kind of inconvenienced for a while. That could settle for $20,000, $30,000, give or take.
Plus the medical, or including the medical?
No, including the medical. So out of that 30, you would pay the medical expenses, you'd pay the attorney, and you'd pay the client. Yep.
And then typically the attorney, as a PI, you work on a contingency kind of basis, and then what is a typical percentage that the PI gets?
It's 30%. Man, that ranges because the industry's kind of changing. It could go from, I'd say, 35 to 25%. It used to be a third. Everything was a third, but
Yep.
it's changed.
And so, does the medical part come out beforehand or after?
After.
Okay.
You'll have some creative clients saying, "Well, I want my medical payments paid first, and then the stuff," but it's not. It's always paid with the settlement amount. So if it settles for 100, out of that you pay the doctors, and what's left you pay the client and the attorney.
Okay. So, what is Georgia's 2-year statute of limitation, and how many people accidentally blow it?
Not many people. All right, so that's a good subject because the statute of limitation affects all cases. For an injury case or torts, that's a fancy way of saying somebody made a mistake and somebody else got injured. Sometimes it's a mistake, sometimes it's intention, but it's 2 years. Now that means if you don't file the lawsuit within 2 years, you lose the right. Now for some contracts, it's 4 or 6. For fraud, let's say you defraud or trick somebody and they lose money, that's 4 years. So there's different statutes of limitations for different types of violations of the law. But yeah, like you said, for a personal injury car accident, it's 2 years. There are exceptions, and there are situations where it's called tolling the statute. That's the fancy legal word, tolling the statute, which means it gets paused. Normally the time starts ticking the day of the accident, and you have to have sued within 2 years. So if a minor, for instance, is injured, the statute does not start to tick until they're of age, 18.
Oh,
Yep. So there are a
that's
few little
interesting.
exceptions in there.
So what happens when the other driver has crappy insurance and really, high deductibles and the minimum amount that they possibly can have, and I have some pretty catastrophic injuries? How does that work?
That's a great question because so many people don't know about this. And it's one of those questions that aren't important until it's important. Then it's really important. I had a guy, I will answer your question. I'm not trying to avoid you, but let me lead into it with an example. The worst
Stories are good.
stories are good. The worst, not the worst, but the most sort of heartfelt client I had was a guy. He was in a car, and the driver was his buddy. And when the driver was just doing donuts over and over and over, and the guy, my client, had his arm kind of out the window like this. Car flips, and my guy, his head slams the ground and crushes his skull. My client was describing it to me, and he said, Matt, after I got up, I could feel my brain and my skull move as I tried to talk. It was horrible. And he was so sane. He could just kind of recount the story without invoking any emotional response. It was amazing. It's a strong human being mentally. But I was like, my gosh, it really was horrible. Anyway, I bring that up because the driver, the jerk who was doing this, had $25,000 in insurance. The guy, my client, had nothing. And you say, well, what happens in a situation like that? Well, nothing happens, unfortunately. He gets the $25,000, and that's it. So it's unfortunate. We wish there was some government pot or fund out there that could help people in that situation. But when you're really injured and the driver that was responsible doesn't have any insurance, you can be in a lot of trouble. Now, the answer or the hopeful solution is you have what's called uninsured motorist coverage or underinsured motorist coverage. And that means that if the other driver that caused the accident either doesn't have insurance or doesn't have enough insurance, your insurance can kick in and help. So if I get in an accident and I have $100,000 in medical expenses, the driver that caused the accident has $25,000 in insurance, then I still have $75,000 that I need to find somewhere. Now that's when my my uninsured coverage, could kick in and help me. But a lot of people don't have it. And what's shocking is a lot of agents don't offer it. They don't even tell the people you should add this on to your policy because it's cheap. It's not expensive. You may pay another $20 a month for a coverage on your policy. And when you need it, it is super vital because you're really in a tough situation without it.
Why do you think the insurance companies don't generally offer it?
The only thing I think is they don't really make any money. So the agents that are selling it don't care to push it. That's my guess. I don't know that. I don't know.
So what about if someone is, this may change it a little bit. So if one of the driver that was responsible for the accident is a wealthy individual, how does that change the responsibility? I mean, because then you can go beyond the insurance, or can you go beyond the insurance?
Yes, you can. Good question. All right, so that's usually you want insurance because that's the easiest way to help your client. It's the quickest, it's there to be paid. And the insurance companies have billions, so it's not like they're hurting for money. So you want the insurance, but let's say I get hit in an accident. Let's say I need $1 million for whatever reason. I should get paid $1 million because I was so injured, whatever. And the insurance says, here, you can have the $500,000. And we're like, but if the guy is, let's say, a billionaire, then yes, it would make sense to not take the insurance money and just sue him personally because he's got so much money. Now, so let's play that out. So I don't take the insurance. The insurance company says, here's Matt, here's $500,000. Let's be done. And I'm like, no, I want $1 million because I deserve it. And you should pay. And they're like, well, we only have $500,000. Take it or leave it. And I say, I don't want it. I'm going to go after him. Now I've got to file the lawsuit, wait years for trial, possibly lose, and then, at the end I get a judgment. Now that's great. I got a let's say my judgment is for $2 million. So I'm like, wow, good. I just won $2 million at court. But now there's the process of collecting the $2 million, and that is not easy. That can be very difficult. So you got to find his bank accounts or find his assets or make him sell this asset or foreclose on his house. Like it's not easy. It's not like you take that judgment up to his front door and say, all right, I'm here to collect my $2 million. And he's like, okay, here you go. I wish, but unfortunately it's difficult. So the insurance is so much easier to just sort of be done with. But another question you might have is, well, can you take the insurance money and then sue him? The answer to that
was my next question.
Okay, the answer to that is usually 99% no. Because you're going to take that insurance money and they're going to say, good, now we need you to sign this document that says you won't file a lawsuit. And in exchange for the money, you have to sign the release, which you give up the right to sue.
Right.
Yeah.
So can my own insurance company work against me in a claim even if I've been paying them for decades?
Yeah, sure. In Georgia, there's stuff called bad faith claims. So let's say you're in an accident and it's your fault. Like it's your fault. You caused the accident. And the other person who's injured says, Zane, I want your insurance company to pay me the $50,000. Let's say that's how much insurance you have. You have a $50,000 policy. And you're like, that sounds reasonable. But your insurance company says, nah, we only want to pay him 30. But he should really be paid the 50. But your insurance company is just being stingy and they don't want to pay. They say, no, we'll give him 30 or nothing. Well, then he files a lawsuit against you because he doesn't sue the insurance company. He sues you, the driver. And let's say he wins $100,000 at court. So now your insurance company could have ended the case and ended it all by paying them the 50. But because they were stingy, you got sued, and now you have a judgment against you personally for 100. So then there's a sort of a clash between you and your insurance company. You can actually sue your insurance company. I hope this is making sense.
It's absolutely making sense, but it doesn't make any. It makes sense what the process you're going through. The whole process doesn't make any sense. If I'm making sense,
it's a frustrating cycle. That's why some people say, "Do I need an attorney?" And my answer is always yes. And that sounds very biased for me to say, "Of course you need an attorney because you need to call our firm." But it's the truth. There's so many little pitfalls and things that can be done to somebody who's uneducated in this area that you really do need the attorney, even just to say, yes, this document looks okay, you can sign it. Because if you sign that really without really knowing what you're doing, it can hurt you. It can hurt you bad. It's like me calling a plumber. I could probably figure out the issue, but what if I don't? And what if the pipes bust? And what if it ruins the house? And now it's all kind of a mess just because I didn't hire somebody who knows what they're doing to handle it. So, anyway.
Okay, so rapid fire. I like to break these up with sometimes with rapid fire. Clemson or Georgia? Who wins if they play tomorrow?
Hold on, no, I missed the first part, man. I'm sorry.
I said I like to break these up in the middle with rapid fire questions.
Okay, no, I'm ready. So, I didn't hear the first part of who. Like, go ahead. I'm
Clemson
ready.
or Georgia? Who wins if they play tomorrow?
Oh, I got to go Clemson. Just because I went there, I'm not a good sports fan.
Outdoor hobby, martial arts or travel? Which one do you pick if you only get one?
Ooh, I got to go to martial arts.
Okay. Worst thing a client can say to an insurance adjuster before calling a lawyer in 5 words or less.
I feel fine right now.
I knew you were going to say that. One thing the other side's insurance company hopes you never figure out.
The other side is figure out. Their driving history. Like if somebody hits you and they've had 5 other accidents, it's likely you're going to have something else going on. Or even better, were they drinking at the time of the accident? Because then you get punitive damages, and it's just a lot worse.
So, do they try to conceal that? And uh,
They don't,
they
but
just don't provide it.
you just don't know about. Yeah, they wouldn't actively conceal it because you're not really asking for information from the insurance company. So it's not, but they would hope you're not good enough to find it out.
Okay. So, tell me about the wrongful arrest case, the corrupt sheriff and his lieutenant. What actually happened and what did it take to win?
Our case, the one we were in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So 3 guys were cleaning out a foreclosure home. Oh, thank you. So they were going, a house had been foreclosed on. They go to clean it out for the lender because the lender now
Yep.
has to resell that house after they foreclose. Turns out that house was owned by a cop before it was foreclosed on. So the cop had seen the guys there, got all pissed off, arrested them for burglary. And that was just a ridiculous claim because everyone knew why they were there. He was just pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had them arrested. They stayed in jail for a period of time. And so our firm, in conjunction with another firm, filed a lawsuit against the sheriff, against the county, and against that officer who did it for violation of Fourth Amendment Fourth and 14th Amendment rights. There's a law called 1983, Section 1983. It's a federal law that says if the government violates your civil rights, you have a claim against the government. So we sued on that. And anyway, it came full circle. It took a long time, but we did. It was a confidential settlement, but it was resolved. Everybody was happy, and we went down. But that was the basis of it. This cop just arrested the people because he was pissed. No reason.
So here's a big question.
Yeah.
Did that cop get fired?
Probably not. I don't know the exact answer, but man, we had one of the first big cases I was ever involved with. This is while I was still in law school, and the guy I was learning from had sued 2 counties because a police officer from that county had been playing with a child, and the police officer handed the child his gun, and the child killed himself accidentally with the gun. Horrible situation. And so we sued the county. I just say not we. I wasn't part of it, but the attorney sued the county on a number of different violations. And as part of a case that big, you take depositions of all the police officers. And this was amazing. So many of the officers had been fired from one county and had just gone right down the street and got hired by another one. One had been fired like 3 times for violating policies, and he's just rehired. And I'm not a police hater. I'm not like anti-police, defund all that. Yes. But it was crazy how many times consistently bad cops were just rehired by another county. It's like, and it's not secret. Like their violations were known. And they were like, okay, just come on. So that's why I say I doubt the cop was fired.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what does a case look like where someone comes in thinking they have nothing and it turns out they really had a strong claim?
We had one case one time where the lady's father was walking down the street and he had passed away. He had been hit by a car. He passed away. And other attorneys had turned her down. She came to us for like a different reason, for like a probate matter. Probate is a fancy way of saying what happens to somebody's property after they pass away. And other things too. But anyway, And we looked at the police report and we were like, you actually have a claim here if you'd like us to help you with this. And she did. We recovered. They paid her the full amount of the insurance policy. So sometimes it's just kind of hidden beneath it. It didn't look like much of a claim. There was no tickets given. There was no real violations alleged on the police report. There was really nothing. So you never really know, man. It could just kind of be there. There was another. I'm not going to take credit for this. This was a firm I had met, and I kind of worked with them on a case. But they had filed lots of lawsuits against the government for wrongful constructions of the roadways. And this was a legal sort of violation that no one really even knew about until you got the experts involved and until they measured the roads and until they were able to do an analysis of the accident scene. These violations would never have appeared. This law firm sort of developed a specialty in recognizing that there was something wrong in the roadway when these people kept skidding. And
it sounds like a made-up kind of violation.
But, they had very, very high settlements on these cases, just because they were able to get in. That's just good lawyers. They're good lawyers. You have to work with experts. Experts are expensive, and so it's not easy for a lawyer to spend $20,000 on an expert, and they have no idea what the expert might say. A lot of lawyers won't take that risk. That happens a lot in product liability cases where, let's say, a car malfunctions, and it's sad because someone is really hurt. But the cost to prove that there was a malfunction of that vehicle or of the tire or of the something is hard. It's not easy for an attorney just to take that and send a letter and get money for the person. You have to hire all kinds of expensive experts to even start the case before you know what might happen. So I don't think.
So what's the biggest mistake you've seen cost someone a significant amount of money in their case?
Biggest mistake. I want to say waiting. The most common one is just waiting to get treatment. That sounds simple. Like give me something more exciting, Matt. But it's just waiting to get treatment is going to hurt the case more than anything. Your average case. And then
I got more questions too. So let me move on to one that's more exciting. So you recovered millions for clients over 20 years. Is there one result that still sticks with you?
That one that you mentioned, you brought up the civil rights violation by the police officer. That's one of the best that stuck with me. Constitutional law is a very interesting area. That's just, I think, the most fascinating. I'm not an expert in it. We don't do it a lot, but when someone you trust, like a police officer, just blatantly violates someone's rights for no reason, just because they're in a bad mood, that's just such an affront against the justice system, everything we stand for. So that one felt good.
So people think if an accident was partly their fault, they can't recover anything. Is that true in Georgia?
No. They can reduce the amount you can recover. So an insurance company might say, yeah, it's our guy's fault, but you were 10% at fault. So instead of paying you $10,000, we're going to pay you $8,000. It's bullshit, honestly. It's bullshit. Now, in Georgia, if you're more than 50%, then you can't recover. Okay. But if they say 10% or 20%, you can still recover.
So, well, this is a two-part question. So what's the biggest lie the insurance company tells accident victims? And is the insurance company allowed to lie to accident victims?
Well, one of the biggest lies would be if there's other insurance policies available. That would be one of the most serious lies they would tell. If, for instance, you can do what's called stacking insurance. Let's say there's a family of 4, there's 4 cars in the household. Each car is insured for $25,000. there are situations where you can add all the 425s together to get 100 to have more insurance available to pay for the claim. So when you ask an insurance company, is there any more insurance available? They should be honest and say, yeah, there's some other policies, or yeah, there's an umbrella policy, which covers you in cases of this anyway. They should disclose that, but they have lied.
So is that applicable, like, because you have an like a family policy where everybody's on that one policy, or is it just the fact that they live in the same house?
No, on the same policy, covering multiple vehicles mainly. If there's more than one vehicle on it, you can stack them sometimes.
So client comes in 3 months after their accident. Is that too late?
That is a very tough case, yes. Now, let me go back. If they started treatment after the accident, it's okay. But if they've never treated, never seen a doctor, and then 3 months later is like, I want to go to the doctor, that's a toughie. We've done it and we've set it for clients, but that's tough.
Oh, you have done it before.
Yeah,
some attorneys won't even take those cases.
No, we've helped people with those, and we just warn the client that don't expect anything great here. That it's going to be a tough fight.
What do people think their case is worth versus what it's really worth? I mean, is that a difficult conversation sometimes, or all the time?
No, it can be a very difficult one. No, most people are reasonable. But you see, you got all these billboards and commercials, and they're saying, I recovered $100,000 from my client. And you got this lady saying, I just received $250,000 from attorney blah. Okay, maybe, I don't know. She looks a little too healthy to have gotten that amount of money. But that becomes what people expect. And there's so many variables. One we've already discussed. The Georgia minimum insurance requirement is $25,000. That may be all the insurance money that's going to be paid, regardless of the damages, regardless of how totaled the car is. That's it. That's all there is. Yep. So even if the case should get $5 million, $25,000 is all that's available. So, that's a tough one. I've lost friends for a while. I remember one case they sent me, I think a cousin, and the poor girl was horribly injured. In bed for like 6 months. She's got rods in her legs. $25,000 was all there was. We looked at the house. We looked at suing, like you mentioned earlier, suing the individual, forcing them to sell their house, put like every option. But nothing. Like $25,000 of insurance was all there was. And when you break that to people, they don't want to hear that. Like there's no way something this horrible is going to result in with no remedies available. So, yeah, it could be a tough one.
So, you also have 404abogado.com, a whole Spanish language arm of your firm. What made you build that, and what does that mean for your clients? Did I get that right? 404 Abogado, Abogado. Yeah,
abogado is Spanish for lawyer. And our market is 90% Hispanics. That's sort of our passion. We like protecting and helping that community. And so that's where we market. That's where we help. 95% of our staff is bilingual. So that's what we're geared for. And that was, I don't know, sort of a marketing thing that we did for a while, 404 Abogado. That's a phone number. It's 404-226-4926. Thank you. We haven't used it in a while because I don't know. It sounds good to me. I love the flow at 404 Abogado, but we haven't really used that much. Yeah. But that's why. That's where from a friend of mine had that cell number. She's like, Matt, I've got the number 404 Abogado. Fast forward 2 years, I bought it from her, and we used it. And I don't know. We promoted a lot. We had a website there, but I don't know. We really hadn't used it as much lately.
So do you also speak Spanish?
Muy mal. Sí. Hold on. Yes. Sí, señor.
Obviously fluently.
Yes, vos es de Ecuador. Dos días per semana practicamos mi español. I said,
Yep.
es, yo, that's our intent, pero no, no mucho.
But you have people who answer the phone and can speak
Oh, for
Spanish
sure.
and
Yeah, no,
yeah.
we have over 100 people in our company, and I'd say 95% are bilingual. Like we
Okay.
hire for that reason. We have to.
So you and your family support drug rehabilitation, human rights, and education in Atlanta. Where does that come from for you personally?
Oh, wow. You've done some research. Okay, yeah, we do
I got
that.
an FBI dossier right here, man.
Man, that's impressive. I'm getting nervous. I don't know what you're going to hit me with next. Okay, so yes, I am actually. I'll give you more probably than you want to hear there. So I'm a member of the Church of Scientology, and that is a religion. But religion aside, they're involved in lots of projects to just help the planet. And one of those is called Truth About Drugs campaign, which is basically we work with schools, we work with governments, um, and just help educate children on what does drugs do to somebody, so that they'll make the right decisions in the future. And then human rights, they're doing that. That is to educate everyone really, but a lot of them in the third world countries, people are just abused, and they don't even the idea that they have human rights has never even occurred to them. They just hadn't because they've grown up under such suppression that it never occurs to them. Wait a minute, I shouldn't be treated like this. I should be able to go to school and have a job, and they don't know it because they've never. It's just been such a horrible existence for them. So yes, we educate them on that. We are. I. It, there's different groups. There's an over drugging of children and adults as well that happen.
I
In
totally agree with that. I
yeah,
totally agree with that.
America's the worst, but it happens all over. And you know, when this child is put on drugs and they're told they're depressed and they're just prescribed these horrible antipsychotic pills that are addictive, that they're just not good. And we are against stuff like that. So yeah, and those are the sort of the campaigns you mentioned, and I do like to participate in those.
So, so Matt, if somebody's in Texas, Tennessee, or Georgia, whether they have a Southern accent or not, how do they get in touch with you? Or if whether they speak Spanish or not, how do they get in touch with you?
Southern accent is not required. Yeah, most of our Spanish clients don't have that redneck drawl, but but so 770-800-2000 is that easy number that we have. HinesLaw.org is our website. .org. HINESLAW.org. We're all over Meta, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, um, and certainly our website is easy to get in touch with us, and we can have someone reach out. And if even if you just have legal questions, we can help you. We do pride ourselves in really helping the individual. It is not just about getting money and all that kind of stuff. So, yep.
Well, Matt, thanks for coming on the show. It's a great little conversation.
Hey, man, thank you for your time. It's an honor to be on your program.